Think escaping from prison is just something that you see in the movies? Today, we're going to be diving into the wildest prison breaks in human history. These aren't typical sneaky getaways. They are bold, daring, and sometimes downright unbelievable. Each story is a mix of clever planning and sheer guts. So get ready, because these prison escapes take the idea of a great escape to a whole new level. Alfred George Hinds, also known as the Houdini of the prison world, had something for making his jailers look like they were playing a game of hide-and-seek, and always losing. Hinds' journey into the world of crime began with petty theft, but he eventually hit the big leagues with a jewelry heist that landed him a 12-year jail sentence. Hinds was not your average Joe when it came to breaking out of prison. His escapades were the stuff of legend. It all started at Nottingham Prison. Imagine the guards' surprise when they found out that Hinds had vanished without a trace. He didn't have a magic wand or a cloak of invisibility, he just had a brilliant mind for planning escapes. So how did he do it? Hinds escaped Nottingham Prison by filing through the bars of his cell and climbing over the prison wall. You'd think that would be enough excitement for one lifetime, but not for Hinds. He was recaptured and sent to Chelmsford Prison, where he decided to pull a sequel to his escape saga. This time, Hinds went full Mission Impossible mode. He carefully crafted a duplicate key to unlock his cell, and once again gave the guards the slip. Hinds' ability to escape was so uncanny that he earned the nickname Houdini Hinds. He was like a slippery fish that the authorities just couldn't keep a hold of. Unfortunately for Hinds, he was recaptured after months of evading arrest. But Hinds' story isn't just about his escape acts. He had a brain to match that brawn. During his time as a fugitive, he turned into a self-taught lawyer, fighting his case with the kind of tenacity that you'd expect from someone who refused to be confined by prison walls. He made 13 appeals, which, though unsuccessful, showed his determination to challenge the system. In his final act of defiance, Hinds sued the authorities for mistreatment, and he won. It was like he was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers, honestly. His life of crime, his daring escapades, and his legal battles made him a celebrity of sorts. A man who refused to be caged, literally and figuratively. Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers, Clarence and John, were no strangers to the wrong side of the law. Their rap sheet wasn't exactly light reading. Frank Morris, known for his high IQ, was in and out of prison since his teenage years for crimes ranging from narcotics possession to armed robbery.
Oh shit.
The Anglin brothers, on the other hand, were bank robbers who preferred using a toy gun over a real one. Their notorious claim to fame, however, wasn't their criminal record, but it was their escape from Alcatraz, the prison that was considered as escape-proof, as a bank vault even. Alcatraz, located on an island in San Francisco Bay, was the kind of place where you would sooner find a shark willing to give you a ride to shore than a way to break free. The trio spent months chipping away at the walls of their cells using spoons, creating a hole just big enough to squeeze through. To cover up their work, they cleverly fashioned fake vent covers from cardboard. But the piece de resistance of their escape plan was the life-size dummy heads they were crafting from a mixture of soap, toilet paper, and real human hair. These heads were used to fool the guards during night checks, giving them the illusion that the prisoners were sound asleep in their beds while they were actually plotting their great escape. On the night of June 11th of 1962, the trio set their plan into motion. They wriggled through the holes in their cells, climbed up utility corridor, and they made their way to the roof. From there, they descended the prison walls, inflated a makeshift raft made from raincoats, and they set off into the cold, choppy waters of the San Francisco Bay. Despite an extensive manhunt and investigation, their fate remains a mystery to this day. It's the most astonishing part of their story. They were never seen again. Ronnie Biggs, a part of the infamous Great Train Robbery of 1963. He found himself serving time for his role in the heist. The robbery itself was a massive operation that netted criminals a massive 2.6 million euros, which is a lot more in today's money. And it wasn't just any old robbery. It was so large that it caught the imagination of the public, and it made headlines worldwide. Now, Ronnie wasn't exactly the mastermind of the operation, but more like a handyman. After the heist, he was caught and handed a 30-year sentence. But Ronnie decided that a life behind bars wasn't quite his cup of tea. His escape from Wandsworth Prison in 1965 was special. It was July 8th, just another day for most people. But for Ronnie, it was D-Day. He made his grand exit from prison with a bit of outside help. A furniture van was conveniently parked near the prison walls. This was no ordinary delivery vehicle, this was part of an escape plan. While Ronnie and his fellow inmates were out in the yard for exercise, a rope ladder was thrown over the wall from the van. In a quick reaction, Ronnie and his friends climbed up the ladder like squirrels on a tree. Once over the wall, they dropped down to the van and they made their getaway. It's rumored that the getaway was so smooth that they might as well have left a gone fishing sign on the prison wall. Ronnie's freedom, however, did come with a price tag. He had to live life on the run, hopping from country to country. He spent time in Paris and then Australia before finally settling in Brazil, where he lived for many years. During this time, He became something of a celebrity fugitive, even recording songs and giving interviews. Vassilis Palaiokostas is a veritable escape artist. Serving a 25-year sentence in Greece's Korydallos prison for kidnapping and robbery, Palaiokostas was no small-time crook. His rap sheet included the high-profile kidnappings of a Greek industrialist and a food company CEO. You could say that he had a thing for rich people, and his escapes from prison were nothing short of spectacular. But how, Mr. YouTube Man, how did that happen? Well, it was 2006, and Palaiokostas was sitting in his cell, probably counting the bricks, when suddenly a sightseeing helicopter appears. But this was no tour of the ancient ruins of Greece. This helicopter was there for Palaiokostas. Two of his buddies had hijacked the chopper to bust him out. The guards mistook this aerial stunt for a routine visit from prison inspectors. As the helicopter whisked Palaiokostas away to freedom, one could imagine him giving a goodbye wave to the baffled guards.
Goodbye.
But like any good action movie, the hero doesn't really get away that easily. Palaiokostas was recaptured, much to the relief of the red-faced prison officials. But in 2009, Palaiokostas decided to go for a sequel on his earlier escape. Once again, a helicopter swoops in to save the day. This time there was a bit of a scuffle, a short gunfight even. But Palaiokostas managed to get on board and he flew into the sunset, leaving the guards once again devastated. I mean, all things aside, you gotta give it to Palaiokostas. The man knew how to make an exit. Twice he turned the Korydallos prison into a scene one would want to watch. It's almost as if he looked at the prison walls as not barriers, but mere inconveniences on his way to freedom. Joaquin Guzman, better known as El Chapo, could give any escape artist a run for their money. His story isn't just about one of the biggest drug dealers in world history, but also one of a clever escape artist. El Chapo, the notorious leader of the Sinaloa drug cartel, was the kingpin of a vast empire, dealing in everything illegal under the sun. From drugs to massive amounts of money laundering. El Chapo's first stint in prison began in 1993 after he was arrested in Guatemala and extradited to Mexico. He was sentenced for his involvement in the drug trade and a lot of other crimes, including the killing of a Mexican cardinal. However, calling El Chapo a mere prisoner would be a bit of an understatement. He turned his jail cell into a luxury suite with all the amenities, from a TV to a mobile phone. But luxury or not, prison is still prison. And El Chapo decided he preferred the outside world, so in 2001, he made his first grand exit. The story goes that he escaped from a maximum security prison in a laundry cart, but some say that that's just a cover-up for a more straightforward walk out. Either way, the man managed to vanish. Fast forward to 2014, after being on the run for 13 years and continuing his cartel activities, El Chapo was caught again. In 2015, he pulled off another escape. He slipped through a hole in his shower stall into a mile-long tunnel complete with lighting and ventilation. It's like he had his own personal subway system. The tunnel led to a construction site, and just like that, El Chapo was a free man again, leaving behind a baffled and, frankly, embarrassed prison system. Number 6. Frank Abagnale Jr. Frank Abagnale Jr.'s exploits are more akin to a charming trickster from a movie rather than a hardened felon. Before his 21st birthday, Frank had already become infamous for his skill in forgery and impersonation. He posed as a Pan Am pilot, a doctor, he posed as a lawyer, and even actually posed as a college professor, all without any formal training. He was a real-life chameleon, switching identities like most people change clothes. His main crime, however, was check fraud. He swindled banks out of actual millions of dollars with his masterful forgery skills. In 1971, the law finally caught up with Frank. He was sentenced to 12 years in prison for multiple counts of forgery and fraud. But for a man who would convince the world that he was a pilot without ever flying a plane, a simple prison cell was never going to hold him for long. His escapes from prison were as grand as his crimes. It all started when the U.S. Marshal in charge of his detention forgot to provide the necessary paperwork during his transfer. This oversight gave Frank the golden ticket that he needed. He convinced the prison guards that he was an undercover inspector, he wasn't an inmate. You could say that he was inspecting his way out of jail. Frank, being the smooth talker that he was, had actually everybody fooled. He was treated well, enjoying privileges that other prisoners could only dream of. But that wasn't enough for him. He decided to up the ante and plan his escape. With the help of a friend, Jean, who posed as a journalist during an article on prisons, he got his hands on a prison inspector's badge and doctored FBI agent's card. Jean was the perfect partner in crime, helping Frank set the stage for his grand exit. On the day of the escape, Frank showed the guards his fake ID, and he asked to speak with the FBI agent listed on the card. The guards, none the wiser, called the number, which of course was answered by Jean. She claimed that she needed to speak with Frank urgently outside of the prison. And just like that, the guards let him walk out of the front door. It was almost as if Frank was in a game of Simon Says and everyone else was just playing along. Frank's freedom, however, was short-lived. A few weeks later, while casually walking past an unmarked police car, he was recognized and rearrested. Which of these prison escapes do you find the most fascinating? If you happen to enjoy the video, smash that like button, subscribe for more, and share with your friends who love a good adrenaline rush. Until next time, keep exploring.